Easter, we all know that. But there's a word, an ancient word, estre, and that word means that this is a pagan spring festival. That's wonderful. I love that. And the date for Easter was set in 325 AD at the Council of Nicaea, in which it was said that Easter would be that Sunday following the new moon that followed the spring equinox. Full moon. What did I say? Oh, new moon. Full moon. I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Oh, my. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, you see, actually, Easter is one of those floating holidays that it can be as early as March 22nd and as late as April 25th. Well, to me, it doesn't matter when it is. It's glorious, whatever. And I love the symbols of Easter. The eggs. I mean, what's better than an egg? That's new life. And so the ancient Egyptians and the Persians would color eggs and they would give them to their friends as gifts, as signs of new life and immortality. And daffodils. Now, we don't have any daffodils up here, but I heard about daffodils from Judy Marshall this last week when I called her. Remember, Judy was here last week. She facilitated the Passover Seder for us, and she did the Hebrew prayers last Sunday, and then she did the Heart of Unity. We were just honored to have her here with us. And so when I called her this last week, she said, I want to tell you about the daffodils. You know, they came up about a month ago, these little shoots, just coming right through the soil, right alongside the chapel at Unity Village. And she said, every day when I would walk by, they'd be bigger. And the green shoots would keep going up and up till finally I saw that there were yellow buds. And they were just beginning to open when we had a snowstorm. And I said to myself, well, that's the end of them. I guess they're dead. No, they weren't. She said in a couple days I saw them coming up through the snow, and they had been all limp and falling over. They were straight and tall and strong. And she said, what a lesson for all of us, to rise again. And trees. You know, I love bare trees. I just think that they are the most beautiful. When you look at them and you can see every twig against the sky, I see the true character of a tree. So I love bare trees. I think it was Fleetwood Mac that said that 2 years ago, the bare trees. But there's something about trees that is so appropriate for Easter. Because we look at a tree with no leaves and we think, well, it's lifeless, it's dead, but it's not. Because first come the buds, then come the leaves, and we see that it's been alive all along. The presence of God is in that tree. And so those new leaves are signs of renewal. They are signs of that quiet assurance that the Spirit of life is in that tree and it is in all living things. Well, now you and I are a part of all living things. The Spirit of life is in you and me. Yes, we sometimes get covered over with the snows of life and all the tough times and things that we could actually call crucifixions, because some of them are tough. But you see, whether we're talking about the crucifixion of Jesus or our own, they're meaningless unless we move toward the resurrection, our rising again. Because if Jesus hadn't done that, then we wouldn't have anything to talk about today. And if we don't rise again out of our crucifixions, then there isn't going to be anything to talk about there either, except things that aren't good, and we don't need that. And so we are looking then to all of these symbols that help us say, yes, we can rise again. We truly can. So we have on this day then, enthusiasm. I love what somebody said recently to me. You know, enthusiastic is my new word. That this is how I want to be in this life. It was also Ernest Wilson, one of our New Thought ministers, who said, if you're going to have a crucifixion, then stay around. Stick around for the resurrection. To rise again and be that new enthusiastic person. Yes, to rise again into a new way of doing things. Into that enthusiastic way of life. And who personifies this more than a little child? Nita, I think you know. Nita and Larry, you know about that. I met that 4-year-old. No, she's not 4, is she? She's 5. Oh my goodness. Well, she's so tiny. And as she was twirling around, I told about her one Sunday and how she made me feel that I was twirling around in life. You know, there's happiness, there's joy in these children. So I want to tell you about one that I met a few years ago. She was 4 years old. Her name was Bryn. Now, I may have told you about her before, but somehow I want to tell you about her again because I learned so much from her. And I want to tell you because it seems so appropriate for Easter. Bryn was quite a talker. And she was a flower girl in a wedding at which I was the officiant. So after the wedding, I asked her if she had fun, because obviously she did. And she said, oh, yes, I always have fun. And then she went on to tell me about her pets. She said, I have 2 dogs, a cat, and a fish. Now, I don't remember the names of the dogs or the cat, but I will never forget the name of the fish. It is firmly planted in my mind. The name of the fish was Spot. So I said to her, well, obviously then, your fish has spots. Oh no, it doesn't have spots. I just like the name Spot. So that's what I named her. Oh, I said, it's a girl. How do you know that? Oh, I don't know that. I just like the name, and I wanted her to be a girl, so she's a girl. I learned something from her that day. In fact, I learned a lot. But one of the things I learned was that she calls things the way she wants them. Do you know that you and I have that power? We call things the way we want them. We have been given a power. If you go back in the Old Testament, in the book of Genesis, you will see that all the animals were brought to Adam, and he was given the power to name them. Now, we don't take that story literally. This is a myth. It is a profound story that tells us deep truths. And so in this story, we say, okay, then he was given the power to name. He could name things however he wanted them. That's our power. We can name things however we want. So I was going into an office building last week. I was going up the steps, and a man was coming down the steps. So when I got close to him, I said, good morning. And he goes, there's nothing good about it. I wanted to run after the man and kind of shake him a little, maybe. No, I wouldn't do that. But I had this feeling like, what have you just done? You have named this day not good. And don't you know that this day is good? Now, I don't know what kind of news he got in that office building. But what I did was bless him, hoping that in that blessing there would be something that would cause him to wake up and say that no matter what that news was, there's good in it for me somewhere. And I'm going to call it good. So we have that power. Now, we can't change circumstances, but we can change how we think about them. And how we think about them changes everything. When we change our attitude, and sometimes it requires only a small shift, we get hope. It just gives us that feeling of, oh, things could be different. And then suddenly we're seeing from a different perspective. And so everything looks different. And we see that, oh, there's a path there. I could take that path. And my whole life would be different just from this little shift in my attitude. That's the power we have. It's absolutely amazing to me that we have that kind of power. So I want to issue you an invitation today. That instead of looking at the story, instead of reading the story out of the Bible, which we could do, but we all know the story, don't we? Instead of looking at that in any kind of theological way or any literal way, we just put that aside for a moment. And we come to a place that we could call metaphysical, that we're going beyond the words that we see on the page. And we would say that this story, this resurrection story, is not just about one man, it's about all of us. All of us. This story is about, yes, the resurrection of Jesus, but it's also about our rising again. No matter what happens to us in this life, that is our power, that we can rise again. And so in this, in the Bible, there is, in John, I've just chosen John 14. But before I give you that, I want to say that Jesus gave us a tremendous teaching. He told us, first of all, that we are spirit beings. We are more than human. He told us that the kingdom of heaven was within us. He told us that this power that lives within us will see us through anything. And it's greater than anything in the world. Anything. Now, the people that he was speaking to way back when, those people didn't pay much attention to what he said because they weren't able to pay attention. They weren't able to understand what he said. Those people had such a different view of God from the view that Jesus had. And so, of course, they weren't able to understand because they thought that God was this being that sat somewhere up beyond the sky on a white throne, writing in a book, and this God was judging us with horrible judgment. This God was a punishing God. And oh yes, it wasn't that this God was never kind and loving, because the God was kind and loving sometimes, to some, but cruel to others. And this God could wipe out masses of people, and it didn't seem to bother that God at all. That's the kind of God that people believed in. So now Jesus is coming along and giving them a whole different message. They are not understanding this. They're not paying attention. And I wonder today, are you and I paying any attention? Are we paying any attention to this? We can, you know, we are able to. We have all the scientific knowledge that backs up everything that Jesus said. Isn't it amazing that he had that kind of knowledge? I have been thinking a lot about what he taught us lately. I have been doing research. I have been praying about it. And really, there are people who believe that he never lived. I believe he did live. And I believe that he lives for me and you and everyone. Well, one time, if you are familiar with Bishop Spong at all, the man that wrote Why Christianity Must Change or Die, he wrote many other books. And sometimes he comes to speak for unity. He's an Episcopal bishop. And I asked him once, did Jesus really say all those things that are in the Bible? And he said, well, someone said them. And they're wonderful words. So he said, why not credit them to Jesus? Let's do it. Because I truly believe that, yes, he did. He had a tremendous message to give to us. And we do need to wake up. You see, the story or the message of Easter is wake up. So, John 14. He says, I do not speak on my own authority, but the God who dwells in me does the work. In many places in the New Testament, he says, I of myself can do nothing. It's God within me that does the work. And yet, what have we done? We have put him on a pedestal. We worship him. He didn't want that. He goes on in this chapter and says, in a little while the world will see me no more, but you will see me, because I live and you will live also. And in that day you will know that I am in my Father God, and you are in me, and I am in you. Now what's he talking about? He's talking about a spirit. That his spirit was centered in Father God. Now today we might say Father, Mother God. But Jesus was speaking in the language of his time. And my spirit is in the Christ Spirit. And the Christ Spirit is in me. It's in you. It's in everyone. You see, I think we are all intermingled in such a beautiful, wonderful way. This is so fantastic to me that sometimes I think, why aren't we jumping up and down with joy? How can we not? We are all in this together. This God Spirit that lived in Jesus lives in you. It lives in me. We're in it. We can't get out of it. So why not just enjoy it? Why not? So, there's one word, just one word that could sum up all his teachings. One word that can sum up everything that we read in the Bible that is credited to him, and that one word is love. That's what we're supposed to wake up to, is love. And each of us has love and greatness inside us. We are here in this world to make a positive difference. We are here to play a part, to transform our part of the world. And we have the power to smile. Now it doesn't make any difference if the person we're smiling at is going to smile back at us. You and I are going to persist and we will smile. That's all I know. You and I have the power to live with dignity, integrity, and honesty. You and I have the power to be loving, to be kind, to be generous. We have the power to be ambitious. We have the power to be prosperous. We have the power to decide how we are going to live our lives. What we are going to call things. Well, I call this day beautiful. And I call our spirits beautiful. So in this day, let's begin. This is a new life. That's what this day means. This is a festival of new life, of a new beginning. That's how beautiful our lives are. Every day we stand at the crossroads and we get to decide, what am I going to call this day? Is this going to be a good day, a not good day? Well, I say it's going to be a good day because there's good in it for me. This is the day that God has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's do that. So we celebrate our lives and our ability. but we celebrate also the life of our windshield Jesus, who represents that Christ Spirit in you and me. And that presence lives for us, it knows us, it loves us, and it is constantly calling us out of our littleness and into our next level of greatness. So that you and I can have the attitude and say, I can rise again. Happy Easter. Namaste.